So what does our future look like? What can we expect from the recovery? Well, frankly, it's not great news. But if we face it and work towards improving our positions for the future, we can make something good out of this. Most analysts and policymakers think we're in for a long, slow recovery. And we're starting to see some early signs that they're probably correct. As we looked at earlier, global GDP ended 2009 with negative growth. This year and next, we are forecasted to see a growth of about 4% each year, as compared to the 5 to 8% growth we would expect to see in a full recovery. Overall, the U.S. GDP is expected to improve moving forward. 2009 ended with the largest decline in American GDP in 30 years. However, 2010 and 2011 are currently expected to get back on track with moderate growth. We see this trend in specific industries also. American steel output, as compared with the last few years, has decreased significantly from the third quarter of 2008 through today, even though we've seen a small rebound starting in the latter part of 2009 and continuing through the first quarter of 2010. Non-residential construction is expected to remain very weak, hovering around the 2009 levels and showing only a slow recovery over the next couple of years. A return to near-normal automotive sales is not expected until at least 2012, after a drop of over 1/3 from 2007 to 2009. Auto sales declined 33% in the two-year period. All of these industries and many others are showing signs of life, but we have a long way to go before we get back to something approaching what we call normal. And that said, we don't believe that we will see the kind of credit-fueled demand we saw in the past decade anytime soon. While we believe that ultimately the problems with the financial system will be resolved and credit will once again begin to flow, we believe that our nation is transitioning from a debt-driven economy to a savings-driven economy. Consumers will be using less debt, and end-use demand will be determined by what they can afford as opposed to what they can borrow. This reduction in end-use demand will put pressure on all of our industries to maintain a balance between supply and demand. Now, this may seem like a bad thing. I mean, let's be real. We all enjoyed the market created by credit on steroids. But now we've experienced the hangover, and it is clear that highly leveraged demand is not a sustainable model for economic growth. In light of the resulting state of the U.S. economy, it would not be surprising if there are more structural changes in the economy, including additional financial reforms, additional bankruptcies, mergers, and supply chain reconfiguration. I think the best we can say is that the future will be a time of great challenge. But I believe that great challenges present great opportunities for great companies. So perhaps the question we should be asking ourselves is not what the recovery will look like, but what it should look like. And what can we do to make it that way? As John Wayne said, tomorrow is the most important thing in life. It comes to us at midnight, very clean. It's perfect when it arrives, and it puts itself in our hands. It hopes that we have learned something from yesterday. So what should we have learned from yesterday? We should remember that the American economy is the world's economic engine and has historically pulled the world's economies out of negative trends. How have we done this? We've done it because the United States traditionally had the strongest manufacturing industry in the world. And manufacturing provides good jobs, paying high wages, which increases demand for products across the world, driving the need for more supply and necessitating creating even more new jobs. And the cycle continues. Without the industries represented in this room, the global economy would be spiraling further into recession, frankly, heading towards depression. And we need to make sure that our voices are heard in our communities and in the halls of our governments. We need to make sure that we are keeping a focus on being a nation that makes and builds things. That is what we do. That is how we built this country. To do that, our top priority has to be creating jobs. We need over 18 to 20 million new jobs created to replace the jobs that have been lost in this recession, lost to the changes in manufacturing economy that have taken place over the last few years, and to keep up with our population growth. Last year's stimulus package is projected to merely create or save 3.5 million jobs, and that's by the end of next year. This is woefully short of what we and our country needs.